I would like to start by just sharing a little story about how the Inter-Region Economic Network started. And the idea was, initially, as a university student, I used to think, like many of us do, that what we need to do is to petition the government for each and every problem that we have. And therefore, whenever there's a problem in the media or anywhere else, people will say, why isn't the government fixing this problem? But then at some point, in my, as a high school teacher, that's one of my backgrounds actually, I came across a publication by a French writer called Frederic Bastiat, which argues that the government or revolutions can always be caused in the name of people. But after the revolutions again, people normally discover that those who are already in the seat of the government ignore them, and again they cause yet another revolution. So there'll always be revolutions in the name of people, but the people will always remain people suffering, you see? So the book really made me get really annoyed, in the sense that I felt the degree I had received at the university really didn't give me the education I thought I deserved, the education to discover that revolutions in the name of the people rarely serve the people. And I think if you compare that with many of the African governments, we've had so many coups, people being overthrown, presidents being overthrown, and always it's in the name of the people, but when you go back again, you get the people are still having the problem. I'm sure the same could be happening here in Bahamas. You can have politicians promising all sorts of good things, but then once they're in the seat of power, you start again petitioning, but nobody listens. So I started the Inter-Region Economic Network in 2001, and I remember the first reaction by many Kenyans was, why are you bringing market economic ideas in Kenya? Those are American issues. Free markets in Africa? No, it doesn't work. Maybe the Americans want to use you so that they can get a market in Africa. That's 2001. Now you should come to Kenya, 2007, today. The biggest proponents of market economics are Kenyans. You know the secret? Now Africa is talking about integration. We are talking about East Africa community. Already we have a protocol in place where Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi is one market. You know, you move around, no visas. All you need is identification. You can invest in Rwanda, the Rwandese can invest in Kenya. Now, business people who initially thought free market is out only to benefit big countries are realizing that a Kenyan business person can also tap into the money from Uganda, from Tanzania, from Rwanda and Burundi. As if that is not enough, we have a common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, which moves all the way up to Egypt, 19 African countries, 440 million people. Just 2 weeks ago, they were talking about having a common customs union, which means already business people, the producers, are already realizing that actually when you're talking about economics, economic growth, business, it's a sum total of what each individual person does in a particular country or in a particular region. So I thought I should just share that with you, because I don't know about the situation in Bahamas, but we could be having people who are concerned that if you open the market, maybe you'll hurt the Bahamian people. If you are in a straitjacket made out of metal, you'll be hurt. But if you have a flexible one, you'll not be hurt, because you need to adjust and look for ways of tapping into the bigger market. And I thought I should share with you one of my favorite talking points whenever I meet fellow Africans, whether it's in Kenya or other parts of Africa, and it's about what we call vision. Every time in Africa, we talk about we don't have visionary leaders. And many a times people don't ask themselves, what do you mean by vision? You know, some people say a vision is a good dream, or a vision is a goal. But I've got some inspiration from an African-American economist called Professor Thomas Sowell, who's written a book on visions, and I thought maybe I should just share with you and my friends from Bahamas. In a nutshell, Thomas Sowell argues that a vision can be defined as a sense of causation. You know, the sense you have, you and me, of what causes whatever is happening. For instance, he gives an example. If we pick a native, primitive African person way back 60 years ago, maybe they believed that the leaf that moves, a dry leaf that drops from the tree and floats in the air as it goes down to the ground, is supported by some form of spirit. So there's a spirit carrying the leaf down to the ground. And maybe at some point, too, they might have believed that what causes earthquakes are gods. You annoy gods, there'll be an earthquake. What causes floods? Maybe gods at the same time, which means if you annoy the gods, there'll be floods. What causes tides? Maybe gods. So your belief of the sense of causation will determine your vision. For instance, if you believe it's the gods that cause floods, and maybe they need you to sacrifice a goat or a sheep or a chicken, you will slaughter one so that the floods don't kill people, isn't it? Because that's your belief of the sense of causation. What causes the floods? What causes earthquakes? Now, if you look at the African situation and perhaps also the Bahamian situation, what causes poverty? Again, if you believe it's gods, then all you need to do is to sacrifice a goat, a sheep, and poverty will be no more, isn't it? So whenever we discuss about African issues, you know, you watch on TV, like today, I was watching one advertisement on one of the TV channels about the Zamzam kid. And they were talking about famine in Kenya, and they're raising money. They're asking people to donate $10, $5, $20. So we go and feed these hungry children in Africa. And they were talking about they have raised 11 million, I don't know, tons of rice from Thailand. All they need is a few dollars. You donate, so they ship the rice from Thailand, take to Kenya and feed the hungry. Sense of causation. If you believe that people in Africa or people in Bahamas cannot have the ability to address what affects them, then you will always sacrifice the chicken. In this case, you go to Thailand, get 11 tons of rice, and ship it down to Africa. But if you want to really address the African issue or maybe Bahamas issue, you need to start finding out exactly what is the sense of causation. If people are hungry, if people are sick, if people are poor, if people are living on less than $1, why are they living on less than $1? Is it because gods don't love them or something? And again, to pursue further, Thomas Sowell's talk about visions. He says we have generally, or in general terms, two types of approaches to vision.